Two Wheels this week, we visit a unique track training school. This is the only place in the country teaching 11 to 17-year-olds to do the business. Richard Hammond goes cruising on Yamaha's Dragstar Classic, and there's some good advice from Wayne on kitting yourself out for £200. Also, some bikers tell us about the worst ever machines that they've owned. Now, if you own a machine like this CBR 600 and you fancy yourself as a racer, you could perhaps go along to track days and learn how to ride your bike on the track. But unless you're 17 years of age and you hold a full motorcycle licence, you can't go on a track day. So where on earth do you learn? Well, the short answer is nowhere until now, because recently I went along to Darley Moor Race Track in Derbyshire. That's the only place in the country where they're teaching 11 to 17-year-olds to ride on a racetrack. Okay, Dave, so 11 to 17-year-olds, but what are the requirements to actually come on this race school?
Essentially, they have to be able to ride a motorcycle. We ask them to complete a basic competence test before we allow them on the track, which means riding in a straight line, starting off, changing the gear, stopping and doing the same back towards us again. As long as they can complete that, then we're happy for them to come on the school.
So how different is this to the adult track training school? Is it different to the adult school?
Other than the fact that the children seem to be more talented than most of the adults we get. No, not really. The school itself is structured exactly the same as the adult school. We teach them the fundamentals of riding a motorcycle, which is counter steering, which is braking properly, body positioning, and then give them the chance to put it into practice on a racetrack.
Right. And RS125s, any reason for RS125s?
I think they are the standard 125 race machine for youngsters. They're not the easiest bike in the world to ride by a long way. They have a very, very sort of idiosyncratic power band, and you have to understand how to ride them. And they have proved to be one of the most difficult things for the kids to come to terms with. But all the kids want to ride the Aprilia RS125. There is a race series that's dedicated to it, and it is a stunning handling little bike.
Right. Right, well, you've had a look at your volunteers, your recruits for today, so what do they look like?
We've got some little stars. We have got some, and I use little in a literal sense. We've got a little lad he's 4'7". We have to have a little box for him to stand on, and he's a stunner. He's really good. I mean, once the wheels are moving, once they're off, they're a little bit unsteady low down, which is understandable. I mean, I try to imagine a bike that would make me look that small, and I can't think of one really. And they are absolutely stunning. As I mentioned earlier, the level of ability that a lot of them are displaying is far in excess of that we get with the adults. I don't think they're burdened by preconceptions, by a desire to show off, by everything that they've read and their mates have told them down the pub. They come here with a completely clean sheet of paper. They want to learn, they are so excited by it, and they want to impress. So do you think it's a case that very young, no fear? Do you think that's why they're actually quite good at it? I think there is an element of that, but so far we've not noticed a reckless tendency amongst them. I mean, they seem to be, they come back and they look at you with little eyes, and they're gagging for information. They want to be praised, they want to be told they're doing it right, and they want to be better. And whilst it's very nerve-wracking when you first get them in the morning and they're wobbling around, by lunchtime the satisfaction we get as instructors is immense. You know, it's really good.
And so, with everybody leathered up and revved up, it was out onto the track for a spot of familiarisation, getting to know the circuit and getting the feel of the machine. The next exercise was counter steering and shifting of body weight, helping to make the machine turn quicker.
Try and keep your body in, keep your body perfectly still, and just use the bars to make it turn. Don't jab at it, just a nice progressive push each way, and it'll make it turn from side to side, yeah? I don't want you to go a lot faster, just a little bit quicker, so the bike turns a little bit better. Did you feel it turning with the bars? That's it, yeah, excellent. Yeah, you go around forward, pat it, and if you want.
And so, with counter steering well and truly mastered, and people even hanging off the machines, it was on to the afternoon activities. This commenced with a talk about braking, then once again out onto the circuit to learn how to stop a machine quickly and in a straight line. Once the instructors were happy with everybody's level of ability, the fun could really commence. Out onto the full circuit for some quality track time, lap after lap. and it was clear to see the improvement in all riders on the day. But what things would stick in their minds after today?
Counter steering, definitely. When I get out on track, will stick in my mind the most valuable technique I've learned today. Yeah.
It's braking. It's put a lot into my mind about getting cautions when you're getting down the corners. You put the back brake on, you lose it. Do the same with the front. Never put them on.
Now, Tim Capper, you race an RS125 already, so has it been any use to you, this training school?
Yeah, it's taught me a lot of good techniques on how to handle the bike a bit better than I already have done.
Right. So even if you're a racer, you never know everything, do you?
No, you can always learn new techniques and become a better rider.
Now here's a couple of guys who look to me like they've done a fair bit of motorcycling before, Tom and Jay. Tom, what have you done before?
I done mini motoring.
Mini moto?
Yeah.
Why have you got Ollie on the back of your leathers and not Tom?
Because they're my brother's leathers.
Your brother's leathers, right. Does he know you've got them?
Yeah.
Good, right. What about you, Jay? What have you done in the past?
I've done motocross.
Motocross?
Yeah, I've been on a course with Dave Thorpe.
Oh, have you? Dave Thorpe, he's a famous name from the past, isn't he? So are you learning loads on this, Tom?
Yeah, a lot. Great fun, excellent.
What's been the main thing? Are you going faster than you thought you would have been going?
Yeah, I'm going quite fast, but I'm going to try and go a little bit faster when we go out next.
All right, well, you're doing pretty well up to now. What about you, Jay? I mean, is it frightening in any way?
No, around the corners it's a bit slippery, that's about it.
Is it? Well, it's drying out now, that's right. You better go even quicker this afternoon.
It's a bit windy though.
Right, so what's your ambition then? Be a motorcycle racer?
Yeah, Dad said he'd try and get me in a club on one of these this year, maybe next year.
Right.
But he's going to try.
What about you, Jay? You going to go into racing?
Yeah, I want to be the next Foggy.
Stevie, what have you learned today about this?
I've learned how to brake in really well and learning how to deal with the power because they're really quite fast. They're very different to what I ride, the mini moto, which the clutch comes in a lot harder and it accelerates harder, but these 125s are so much faster and it's really good fun.
So another successful school completed, I think. Dave, any superstars out there today?
I think we've got one or two budding candidates here. There's a couple of lads who have impressed us. Yeah. They're going very, very well and showing remarkable ability for such a young age and relatively inexperienced as well. Yeah.
It must be very, very rewarding because you must see the progress and the improvement throughout the day. You must have seen that with some of the guys today.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, there was one lad who had come thinking the power band was something that was going to knock him off the back of the bike, and once he'd sort of got it going, he came back with the biggest smile on his face. And he's so happy, and since then he's gone really, really well. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I certainly think that we're going to have some little starlets here. Right. Definitely.
So I suppose maybe the ambition of you as a training school is to perhaps watch somebody on TV in the future and think, well, yes, I had a hand in him learning how to do that.
The British motorcycle road race sport is lacking something for the youngsters. There is no way that a 14-year-old can't practice. He can race, he can go to a proper race meeting, but he can't go anywhere to practice. Right. We not only give them practice, but we give them quality practice. We give them skills that will help them become better, add some miles to it, and yeah, I honestly think that in 2 or 3 years' time we're going to see 125 champion, British champions and maybe European champions that have been bred from started here and come up through the Super Teen Series. Yeah.
So there may be somebody watching this now, Dave, thinking, that's good, I fancy having a go at that. That would make a nice birthday present for me. I'll ask my dad, what's it going to cost his dad to come and do this?
Basically, it's going to cost his dad £225. It's the cost that we charge the adults for the adult school, and we don't see why we should charge the kids any more than that. We give them the brand new bikes, which is fully fuelled. If the child is 5'2" or above, we can supply kit. If they're smaller than 5'2", they have to supply their own, but most of the kids we get are sort of 5'6", 5'7", so they are quite tall. But if they are super small, then obviously they have to bring their own kit. We feed them all day, we water them all day, and we give them some quality track time and quality training.
The Kawasaki LTD 750, it was amongst the first of the Japanese factory-built custom bikes to come into this country. And if you'd been brought up like me on a diet of 750 kettles and the like, well, it had a bit of an impact. Whether or not you liked it or cruisers was another matter. But the thing feels tiny now looking at it. It's so narrow and little and diddy. And of course, as we all know, the Japanese cruiser market has gone berserk since then. As the new boy on the programme, I thought myself very lucky indeed when Paul said, "Here Rich, take out a midweight for the day." Thought I, CBR 600. R6 maybe. No, I get this. The Yamaha Dragstar 650. The Yamaha 650 Dragstar. It's a growing class, this, cruisers from Japan. It seems that we like them quite a lot. And most of them have really butch names. There's the Drifter that we looked at the other week. There's the Marauder and even the little baby 125 Rebel. But we get this, the Dragstar, which sounds more like it has something to do with Lily Savage than any bike I know. This is the classic version of the Dragstar, so we get a few extra bits and pieces. Faired in mudguards, these fender style, front and rear, an extra lamp or two, and these high weight boards as well. More of those later on. Not all good. It might be modern, but it's not exactly super sophisticated. There's a little V-twin here, and I say little 650cc, and it puts out a mighty 40 brake horsepower. My alarm clock's got more power than this bike, if I'm honest. It's shaft drive, which is nice. You're not messing about with the chain, and it doesn't go slack or need oiling either, which is good news. Braking is nothing special, single disc front and rear. And that's about it. We've got one single dial on the tank to tell us how fast we're struggling to go, and it won't be good news, and how many miles we've done, and a little tiny fuel filler. And that's it. Other than that, fairly simple layout. This one has a screen, another optional extra, and it says, quite bizarrely on the back, made in USA. About the only bit of this Harley clone that was, I suspect, made in the USA. So, 40 bhp in a bike that weighs, well, let's remind ourselves, over 230 kilos. Think that a lightweight R6 or something like that is probably 160, 170 maybe max, with 2 or even 3 times the power output, and you get an idea that this is not going to be fast. And it isn't fast, which is just as well, because those highway boards, try cornering at anything like a respectable speed, and the big, soggy, long travel suspension just compresses, and those highway pegs touch down immediately, rewarding you with a noise like no other. Stopping isn't exactly an easy process either, and certainly not accurate. It's very easy to lock up a front or rear wheel. If you've got to have more power, there is a bigger engine version available, though personally the idea terrifies me. I think 40 brake horsepower is just about enough for this entire chassis and suspension and steering setup. Perhaps the most revealing thing about the Dragstar was when I first got on it, these tiny mirrors I noticed were both angled inwards, so that all I got was a perfect view of me, which says quite a lot, I suspect, about anybody who's going to buy one of these things. But I'm not criticising, it's just a fact. Perhaps they should do a classic GX version which features little lights all the way around the mirror, just to show you in your best light. But let's not forget, to criticise this bike on its ride and handling is to miss the point entirely. It's more to do with how you look reflected in shop windows. And, well, it does a respectable job. There's no shortage of chrome to see yourself in, certainly. And it does have the right kind of laid-back cruiser look and feel. And that's the key to it. Reminding yourself all the time, don't even think of trying to push it. The best technique I've found is to just hum quietly to yourself the Steve Miller Band, the Joker, you know, dum-dum. Just do that, lean back, and that's about the right way of riding it. Of course, another important difference between sports and cruiser bikes is the price. Cruisers are not exactly expensive. You'll pay well under £5 for this very recent R-plate with only 9,000 miles on, and that's a pretty typical price. So, one good thing, they don't necessarily break the bank.
And coming up after the break, good advice from Wayne on buying gear, another tech tip, and some more biker chat. Not everybody owns a machine that's in A1 pristine condition. You can't always afford exactly what you want. And if you've had a few bikes over the years, there's probably one sticks in your memory as being the worst thing you've ever owned. I won't tell you what mine is because the bloke I sold it to might just still be riding round on it.
The worst bike I've ever had, GPZ 750 Turbo, I think. It was fast in a straight line, it was very quick in a straight line. The turbo boost coming at 7 grand, about 110 mile an hour in top, and it was like being on a bungee string. It just take off, it'd be off. But you come to a corner, it just wouldn't go around corners. It was the front was all washing out and the back end was springing around. It wasn't an old bike, it wasn't worn out, it just wouldn't go around corners.
The worst bike I've ever owned is a 650 Norton Mercury. Permanently let me down. Wouldn't buy one again.
I've had, you know, the RDs and X7s and things like that, you know, the speed freaking machines and things like that, but obviously as you grow up, you grow out of all that and go for something a bit more stylish.
An RD350 by PVS. Never let me down like they're supposed to do, but I had no confidence on it whatsoever, and it was slow in my opinion. I thought it was brilliant when I first got it, and 3 or 4 weeks later it was slow as anything, and it just didn't inspire me confidence at all. Some of my friends even said put better tyres on it, so I put back axes on, but I still couldn't go round corners on it. So I got rid of it then, and then we got my Honda Hornet then. You know, find it brilliant. Confidence inspiring, I threw it round corners, it's just not fast enough.
At the time I thought it was the best bike I've ever owned, because it was my first bike. I actually got it when I was 15, I couldn't get on the road until I was 16 on it, but it was an Honda SS50. Just thought it was a dog's on it. I just lived on it basically. Obviously looking back, I got out of biking, I had another couple after that. I had the RD and the LC, and then I got away from it, but I thought it was the best bike, but looking back it was obviously the worst bike, yeah, pile of crap.
It doesn't matter what type of motorcycle you own, 2 wheels or 3 wheels, a scooter or a huge big touring bike, you need some gear to wear when you're on it. If for no other reason to keep you warm and dry or possibly safe, and there's no doubt about it, you do need a helmet on your head because it's the law. So what we're going to do over the next number of programmes, we're going to talk about different price categories of clothing, and we're going to kick off with a couple of £100. So I've now come to this lovely shop and I've got here £200 worth of your hard-earned money, and I'll show you what I've spent it on. Well, we've got to start with this, of course, which is the old lid. Skid lid, bad terminology. Crash helmet, even worse. But the fact is, these things have been tested to a very high safety standard, and you don't have to spend a fortune to get one up to the highest safety standard. So this blue label here signifies it meets the top level of safety, and this is only £45. Now this is by a company called Grex. In fact, it's not dissimilar to a helmet called Nolan, by Nolan. And Nolan used to produce his helmet 2 or 3 years ago at more money than these guys are doing it now. So at £45 for a helmet that meets the highest safety standards, you can't go wrong. And for 5 or more, you can have it with fancy decals on it as well. So we've started at the top. Let's go down a little bit and we'll get on with the coat. Now you might want a thick, heavy-duty coat for winter use, or a lightweight coat like this. Now if it's a winter coat, it'll have a thick lining in, no problem, and it's probably 100% waterproof. But a word of warning if you buy a lightweight coat to go over perhaps a leather jacket that you already own. Leather jackets and fashion stylish jackets might already have zips and buttons and studs. And what the problem is with that is they wear this jacket out from the inside out. What happens is the taped seams that cover the seams to stop it leaking, they wear from the inside out from all the buttons and things on your jacket. So if you can try and choose one with an actual liner in it, only a lightweight one, that'll stop it wearing out. It'll last an awful lot longer, makes it better value for money. And this particular one from Belstaff, the Sirocco, is £60 worth. So we spent 100 or just over £100 of your hard-earned money. Trousers, a lightweight pair like that, you can roll them up, and if you choose your coat nice and wisely, it's even got a pocket in the back, and you can stuff your trousers inside the pocket in there. And this one has got a bum bag, so you stuff the whole lot and wear it around your waist. So even if it's a nice warm day, you never know what's going to happen later on in the afternoon. It might rain, you can take it all out the bum bag, stick it all on, and you're nice and dry. From there, let's move then on to the gloves. Now this particular pair of gloves are quite nice, but they are costly. They're £45, but you can get a good thick, heavy-duty, waterproof pair of gloves for around £25, and they'll protect you, and they are definitely better and designed purposely for motorcycle use. Don't buy an average pair of gloves that you would wear for just kicking around in, because they won't protect you if you fall off. They're stitched a little bit better. The leather they use is tougher, and it's very important for your own safety. Boots. It is important to wear a good pair of boots, because trainers, they don't work, they don't protect your ankle. And I don't want you to test any of this stuff, but the truth is, who knows what's around the corner. You can buy a pair of boots for around £50 and then right up to £300 or £400. Now naturally, a cheaper pair of boots ain't going to fit and are not going to be as comfortable as a more expensive pair. It's just the same as shoes. So we cheat a little bit. A few pounds buys a good pair of socks, and a nice thick squidgy sock like that will make any boot feel really comfortable, and that's one way of perhaps saving a few bob. And you can buy a pair of boots for around 75 quid that's got a waterproof liner in it as well, so you're warm and dry from top to bottom. So all of that lot, which includes that helmet, the jacket, the trousers, the gloves, the boots and a fancy pair of socks, is equated to around £200. But it's not very exciting, is it? It doesn't have a fancy leather jacket in the kit. It doesn't have armour and protection. Nah, we need to spend an awful lot more of your hard-earned, and we will in the future. OK, so keep watching. And I'm sure Paul's had these things on. Oof.
Now, minth, it says there, and I'm not lisping, it's not trying to say mince, but actually minimum thickness, that's what that's short for. And there it says 4.5 millimetre. Now that's the thickness of the disc. Perhaps you knew that, but how are you going to measure it? This, in my hand here, is a vernier gauge. Very useful for such things. Just put the gauge over there, clamp it up, take it off. Look at that, 5 millimetre. Bags of meat left on that one. But a vernier gauge is also useful for measuring the depth of holes, because it's got a little prod on the end of it. You can just see it there. And it's very useful for measuring tread depth. I've got a depth gauge here as well, but you don't need that once you've got this. And this will only cost you about 3 quid. Just put it over the tread. Just make sure you're measuring it. There we are. And measure off just 4 millimetre. These are nearly new tyres, so that's great. Another little tip for you, lots of people don't know this, as they say, but bike tread depth, legal requirement is 1 millimetre, where on cars it's 1.6. But having said that, you'll find in your manufacturer's handbook, they normally say 2 millimetres. That's for safety reasons, but legal, you're okay with 1 mil.
On Two Wheels next week, more top advice from Wayne about choosing the right kind of gear. And I take a ride on a 650 whose name is a blast from the past, although this is a brand new machine.